Alright, so let's talk about Manifest Destiny and the Southwest. We have been looking at. Oh, shoot, it's not in here. But we were looking at the map where there was. Actually, no, I'm going to take you back to it. We were looking at this map. So we have Oregon, we just talked about in the earlier lecture, and then we discussed how Texas became independent in the following lecture. And now we're going to talk about how this area joined the United States and became part of our country. California plus these other states. Now, this area had been claimed by the Spanish. Spanish power has been declining for hundreds of years. At this point, the glory days of Spain were after Columbus through the 1500s, and then in the 16 and 1700s they're getting weaker and weaker, and finally in the 1800s Mexico is able to break away from Spain and become an independent country. As they're doing this, the U.S. is also rapidly growing. And much like the Native Americans, they just were overwhelmed by U.S. growth into this border region between the United States and Mexico. States like Texas are here, and this would be Oklahoma, and so on up this up towards the northwest. Settlers are moving into that area along the rivers. So, manifest destiny is a term that describes it as clearly the U.S.'s fate to expand across the ocean from Atlantic to Pacific. And not only is it obvious or manifest, it is destiny, it's fate, it's divinely ordained. It has God's blessing for these things to happen. Americans are driven by a desire for farmland, they need resources, and generally they just believe that the American form of government, democracy, where the people are the government, or people choose the government, is superior to other forms of government like monarchy or dictatorship or whatever. So they think it's a good thing to share the freedom that comes with democracy. James K. Polk runs on this platform of manifest destiny and expansion, and that's basically what he wins on. The people want the country to grow. Now, part of this growth, and this is a catch for the fourth quarter, because the country grows so rapidly, we have to start asking the question, will these new territories be slave states or free states? Where should slavery be okay? And that's ultimately going to help drive us towards the Civil War. But first, we had to have the Mexican-American War. So Texas is not doing so hot as an independent country. Running an independent country is expensive, and for a country, Texas is kind of small. And not just James K. Polk trying to negotiate or to expand the country, but also Texas really wants to be part of the U.S. So they're kind of threatening the U.S. and hinting that, maybe if you're not going to let us join the United States, maybe we'll become part of Britain or join Britain's empire. And the U.S. doesn't like that. We don't want Britain back in North America. So we say, okay, join the United States. And they do. But the problem is this creates a border dispute now between the U.S. and Mexico. We say the border is down here. Mexico says the border's up here. And so this whole big orange area becomes disputed territory. We say it's part of the U.S. Mexico says it's part of Mexico. And we've got to figure out how to solve that. So the U.S., we move troops into this disputed area. So we send troops right here and start to try to fortify this area and say, hey, we're in American territory. And we make another offer to buy the territory. This annoys Mexico because, one, we're moving into the disputed territory, and two, we're offering to buy like half their country. Just not good timing. Not something that's going to make Mexico excited about selling part of their land. Unfortunately for Mexico, though, part of breaking free and being independent, they are not a super mature country yet in terms of military technology and economy. So the war goes very badly for Mexico. The U.S. invades. The invasion is very successful. In fact, if you look at this map, we were able to send troops into Mexico City. The United States, captured the Mexican capital and forced a treaty that was very beneficial to us. So Mexico agreed to sell the northern territories, we call that the Mexican Cession, for $15 million. That is all of this area here that is now California, Arizona, New Mexico, think that's Utah and Nevada over here as well. So we buy all this for 15 million, and they surrender this area and agree that this is in fact Texas down here, and this is in fact part of the United States. So manifest destiny is achieved, and we have all the territory that is now part of the United States. All of this happened from 1776 when we declared independence over here. By 1848, we have claimed all of this. That's like 75 years, especially after we'll talk about that in a minute, but 75 years to gain all of this territory. That's incredible. It's incredible growth. I can't think of anything else like that in the history of the world. But that's the U.S. that as it's shaped today, right? So now that we control this territory, there were a number of groups that needed to move into it, or ended up moving into it. People are looking for farmland, but others are moving west for other reasons. For California, the population spikes after gold is discovered there in 1848. People move from all over the world to get rich in California. In fact, you might have heard of the San Francisco 49ers. They are named for the gold rush of 1849. You're going to end up with Spanish, Native American, Eastern United States, East Asians, Europeans, and others. California, to this day, is probably our most diverse state, and I believe it's the only state right now where European Americans do not make a majority. So in every other state of the Union, the largest group is European Americans, who are over 50% of the population. In California, European Americans make up less than 50% of the population. Another example of people moving west, Mormons, the people who are the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They have experienced persecution in, I think, New York and Illinois, if I remember correctly. And so they end up moving further west to be left alone. They settle in Utah. Their church world headquarters is in Utah today, and their primary school, their primary university, Brigham Young University, is located there. Brigham Young wanted it to be a difficult journey, so that the only people who came were those who were motivated by their religious faith, and that's where they are now. As an example of a diverse group, we have someone from Europe, we have someone from China, we have a Native American and an African American, all posted here. Actually, I'm having trouble telling what picture. He might just, I'm not sure. He might be Mexican. It's a little difficult to tell. But San Francisco grew very rapidly in this time, thanks to the gold rush, which you read about in chapters 3 and 4 of Which Way to the Wild West.